right, so welcome to the Out of Chaos podcast, a discussion based podcast where we try to make sense of the chaotic world we live in. We talk about life, business, we talk about self development, amongst other things. So let's keep our minds open to greatness and grow together. We have some valuable content to share with you all, so stay with us until the end. Remember, you're always welcome to share your thoughts on social media or wherever you would like. So today's focus is on, we're going to continue our love series, right? So we're going to focus on Eros Love, which is the romantic love. It's the healthy and common expression of physical love. So just to kind of clarify, basically a love between partners, right? Part one was storge, which is family love. Part two was philia, which is friendship. We're focusing on romantic love this week. With me this week is my guest, May. If you want to introduce yourself, she's been a friend of mine for a long time. I met her first year university, but I'll let you tell the story just quick.
Yeah, so we've known each other for a little while. Just like all friendships, we went on and off, but we connected again. And I'm so happy to be here. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. The reason why I invited you here is because, apart from knowing you for so long, you're someone that I do trust. This is a very touchy subject. It's a subject that I truly see a lot of value. Many people have been inquiring about certain questions, things they want to hear, or questions they want asked. So I thought you would be the best person. And the reason why is that I thought that is because I've known you for so long. I know your ups and downs when it comes to your love life, and vice versa. And then Mei Lin, for those of you listening, she married her best friend. They just how long has it been?
It's been a year.
It's been a year, so it's going on 2 years. It's been a year, so congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
It's an amazing story. It's not something that we hear every day, which is why I loved that you got to come in, right? Because I wanted to hear this story. Like you said, we've been kind of on and off, so it's better if again you tell me and the audience how that is to be. But before we get into that, um, we're gonna focus on this episode. I don't want it to be like super structured where we're just like going on like a presentation, but I do want to focus on just three questions, right? So we're gonna be talking about question number one, which is, will I ever find love, true love? I think a lot of us have asked that question. I've actually did a survey and many people said that, asked that. Am I enough? And am I settling? So, but before that, just tell me, like whatever you want to tell me. Your time. Like you say whatever you want.
Okay. So, yes, as you said, I did have the luck of marrying my best friend. Obviously, like any other relationship, it hasn't been butterflies and unicorns, but it has been a really great experience to say and a blessing to say that I married my best friend. So as you know my husband from high school as well.
Yeah.
Um, so we were best friends for a long, long time, and then I was kind of nervous to take the relationship to the next level. Obviously, the friendship to the next level, but it worked out, especially because when we were best friends, you know the story. He was dating somebody else. I was dating somebody else.
Yeah.
And we were in not such good relationships to say.
Both of you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So we ended up like sticking it out. We both ended our relationships because of, existing reasons. But we stayed best friends, and yeah, to this day we're happily married. Obviously, like I said, it's not all peachy perfect, but it's it's an awesome experience to say that through all the struggles, through knowing him, through his experiences, I can say that I married him, and I'm proud to be married to him.
It's amazing.
Hmm.
Yeah. No. I guess my question would be like, so how long were you guys friends for? Like, when did you guys meet? Because when you introduced me, did you just meet him or you knew him from before?
I met him around 2010, 2011,
Yeah.
and then we got married in 2020. And we started dating, I think, 2018, 2017.
Yeah.
So we definitely, on my part, struggled a lot with that fear of overcoming. Oh my gosh, if we date, our friendship could either crumble to
Yeah.
pieces, and that's it. You lose a friend, a really close friend, or you give it a shot, and we'll see what happens.
Exactly.
And thankfully, we gave it a shot, and yeah,
Because it's so crazy. Like, we graduated in 2016, right?
yeah.
So I didn't hear from you. I didn't see anything. Like, we kind of like said hi.
Hmm.
But then I see a picture, and like you get married, and because the last time I saw you guys were friends, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, wait, what? What just happened? I just missed like a big chunk, right? Because it's so interesting. Like I did not see that coming, right?
For sure.
But it's what I've always said. Like everything is like it's so lost in society where like I've always called out people for this, but it's like, oh, they see a girl or a guy or whatever, and they get like they fall in love, and then because they're beautiful, like, and they go like, okay, I'm gonna start dating you, and I just think it's a little mature, right? Like, because you have to kind of get to know them on the friendship level. So the fact that you had that friendship stage and it was for so long, I value that because it's something that I don't really see. You know,
Mm-hmm.
even myself, I've been a victim of that. Like not victim, but like, I guess culprit of that, where I kind of like just meet someone, kind of get along for like a couple of months or a month or two, and then you start dating them.
Yeah.
But what I've always known is that whenever if something's a friendship, it starts with a friendship. I mean, it doesn't guarantee happiness, but it's a better percentage of a chance that it can work out, right? Or you have a better view if it will work out, right? So what was the transition? Like tell me about that. Like how did it go from the friendship to the dating?
So, because I had been hurt by previous experiences and he had been hurt by previous experiences, he's more of like the type that was like, okay, we'll brush it off and it'll be fine for him, right? For his
Yeah.
experience. Obviously he was hurt. He went through a time where he was hurt. I went through my time when it was where I was hurt. But I think I was hurt for a longer period where to the point where I was kind of like, well, maybe I'm not ready to do anything
Yeah.
yet. Let's just stay friends. So we did that, and then the transition was weird. It's kind of like that episode of Rachel and Ross in Friends where he starts kissing her and she's like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Because it is weird. Like you're used
Yeah.
to this one friendship, and then you take it to the next level, and you're like, "Okay, well then I guess we're more than just friends." So it definitely was weird, but at the same time, because we knew each other in such a close level,
Yeah.
we knew what didn't work with for one another. So
Okay.
I knew what ticked him off, he knew what ticked me off, and we learned to respect each other
Mm-hmm.
due to the fact that we knew what the other people had done to us and the experiences we've been through, right?
Yeah.
Individually. So that transition was definitely awkward. It was different, but it worked out.
Like, would you say you felt like a little bit of what do you call it? Like you were scared. Like you were you did you have like that kind of that fear, I guess, right? So you
Hmm.
had it.
Yes, for sure.
Did he have it?
I think he's a very full of hope and faith kind of guy.
Okay.
Thankfully, because if it wasn't for that, I would have just been scared to death and
Yeah.
not even been giving it a chance, right? But thankfully, I put my trust in him and I said, okay, well, let's give it a shot, right?
Yeah.
Because my mentality would be like, what if it doesn't work? And his mentality would be like, what if it does?
Yeah.
Right? Like we'll never know unless we try. So I'm not saying that yes, we started dating and everything went well and we knew right away we were going to get married. He obviously always thought that he was going to marry me. I don't know why, but
Mm-hmm.
he had that idea. But obviously like any relationship, we've had issues and I think that if we don't go through the issues, if you don't go through the challenges, you have nothing to overcome at the end of the day,
Yeah.
right? So it's just like there's no perfect relationship as much as we see it in the movies and social media
Yeah.
and every person's filter, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. So, I guess like to go into the first question, like, did you ever ask yourself, I guess after you broke up, or right, like, did you ever ask yourself, like, will I ever find true love? Because that's the question that a lot of people ask themselves, right? A lot of it is because of what you said about the movies and society and culture and stuff, but I mean, I believe we're all made to love and be
Mm-hmm.
loved, right? It's our necessity that we all have. So I guarantee you probably asked yourself that question, right?
For sure.
So how did you deal with it? When did you ask it? Or like, how do you feel now that you're
Right.
married?
So obviously when you're young, when you're a teenager, you see your friends having boyfriends, you see people on, I don't know, social media, I guess you can say back in the day when I was younger, it was all Facebook. So their relationship status would change, right? No longer single. So then I'd be like, okay, well, I wonder if I'm ever going to find someone that will love me.
Yeah.
But I guess that in the midst of all that wondering and questioning, I put myself in the wrong place with the wrong person. I mean, yes, I learned from my experiences, and that's great. But sometimes you get so caught up in wondering and questioning what true love is or what true love can be for
Yeah.
you, that you choose the wrong thing, right? Which will eventually lead to our further questions within our conversation. So, yeah, I've
But
definitely asked it.
you did?
Yes,
And
definitely.
and being married a year now, like how do you see yourself back then? Like when you
Really
used to.
immature and really silly. But for real, because like when you're young, when you're
Yeah.
young, you just I don't know,
You
you
want it
want to
like now almost.
yeah, like you want to feel loved, you want to all that stuff, but then as I got older, I realized you can't really find true love if you don't love yourself first
Yeah.
of all, right? Like you've mentioned in your previous episodes. So you find love for yourself, and then once you love yourself, you're able to love somebody else, and that love can be received, right? So if I think about it now, like, and there's so many young people, not just women, but maybe even males. I don't know how it works for you guys, but people just always wonder, like, after failing through different relationships, you may ponder upon yourself, like, what's wrong with me, right?
Yeah.
When am I gonna find true love? Like, oh, my best friends are getting married. I was the last one from my high school friends of getting married.
Really?
Did I ask myself what in the world is wrong with me? For sure. But the thing is that I was working on my own timeline. I
Yeah.
was working on my own clock. But before I knew it, all of a sudden we
Wait,
got married.
sorry, this is a really important question. In your school, was it like majority Spanish people
No,
or like
I grew up in the States, but when I came to high school here, I made friends. I have two really close friends from high school, and they both got married before me.
mm.
And they were not Hispanic, unfortunately.
The reason why I asked this because our culture. That's what I'm saying. Like a lot of it is our culture. Because I mean, for me, none of my friends are married.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like even the girls that I know, like none of them are married. Apart from, but I'm saying like from high school, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's like a cultural thing where sometimes you do rush it, right? Like,
Yeah.
cause, but and that's part of our other question. I don't want to spoil it. But going back to the true love thing, what you brought up is so important because there's potential problems with that question. Um, I don't know how annoying this is, but I like like segmenting questions. Like I like um, kind of diving into each little thing in my life, right? So when I say this question, will I ever find true love? What do you mean by like find? You know, do I have to? You can find something by staying at home and just like waiting, and then, but then find can also mean that you go out there and look. But then if you go out there and look too hard, so do you get it? Like it's a
Yeah.
very deep question. And then the second part, which is true love, what does that even mean? What happens if like our last episode we touched upon, and our last two episodes we touched upon like toxic love. What happens if your friends, your family, anybody who raised you gave you toxic love and that's what you think love is? So then what's true love to you? That's a very important question, right? Do you have anything to say?
So yeah, I think everyone's definition of true love will be different.
Yeah.
Because some people may experience it through being with a partner, or someone could experience true love just through the family stage, right? Everyone has different experiences, and I'm a big believer on the fact that everyone can have their own definition of true love and who they're going to find true love with or what they're going to be truly in love with, right?
Yeah.
Because even though society teaches us in this social construct that we are born, we grow up, we date, blah, 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 we end up getting married,
Yeah.
right? A lot of people, if you think about it now, even in our age range, aren't getting married. They're common
Yeah,
law,
exactly.
they're dating, they're still, figuring things out for them. So definitely everyone has a different definition of it.
Because some of the stuff I wrote down here when it comes to this question is that sometimes people are too picky. I wrote
Mm-hmm.
down past experience. Sorry, they're looking in the wrong place. It's kind of something you mentioned. I know so many people that they'll say like, "Oh my god, like I only date jerks," you know. But like, and then where do they look? Right, like at the clubs or like on apps, you know, like or maybe those kind of apps that are like let's just call it out like Tinder or whatever, right? So like you can't complain when like you go look in the wrong place, right? Um, you having the wrong mentality on love. And then I wrote down here utopia love. So like, especially like Latinos, you know, like telenovelas, like there's novelas and stuff where you think that the soap operas, where you think that love is like looking at each other's eyes and like Maria, Fernando, you know, and like it's not like that, right? And something I want to say, I don't know if you agree or not, and I don't want to say it's controversial, just something I've always thought is that um I don't think love is just happiness. True love isn't like being happy,
Mm-hmm.
cuz what does that even mean to be happy? Like how can you be happy, right? Like cuz think about this. Let's say you like you find true love, but like something bad happens, like you get sick or something always happens in your life. So the goal isn't to be happy, it's to be at peace. It's to be supportive of one another. You don't always have to be happy, right? The best example for me, I mean, I like your example, but I mean, I don't live with you. I don't see you every day.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's my parents. My parents, they met in high school and they got married when they were 19 and they're still together, right? They're like early 50s and they're still married, and I seen their ups and downs, right? I see how they complement each other. My mom, she's very talkative. She's tough. Like if she sees something, she'll call it out. My dad is quiet. Like he won't say nothing. And it seems like contradictory, but when the time comes, it complements each other so perfectly.
Yeah.
You know? So for me that's been the best example, right? I think that's what gives me some credibility. They haven't been happy like in terms of fairy tale love happy, but they've been at peace. And I think peace is more important than happiness. You
Definitely, I
know?
definitely agree because what's the point of you, for example, being in a relationship where you think you live in this utopia, like you say, where it's just a state of mind, but at the same time, this happiness is causing you your peace, right?
Yeah.
This person might give you or make you feel happy in some ways, but they might be taking your peace in other ways. And I find that if you find your peace, if you have your inner peace,
Yeah.
I find that that's a real, like, happy place there.
Yeah, no, and so another thing I would say that like maybe because the question is will I ever find true love, right? So I guess I'll say what I advise and you can say the number one thing I advise is make sure you know what the definition of true love is. And I mean whether you're religious or not, whether just have some, I always say it almost every episode, have some moral standards. Like if you believe in Buddha and Jesus or whatever it is, have a moral standard of love and stick to that. Because
Mm-hmm.
the problem is that people say like this is love, and then they'll say no 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 this is love, and no 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 this is love, but like so at least stick to one thing
Mm-hmm.
first. I don't know what you want to.
Yeah, definitely having your own idea and belief on what love is. That way you know what you're looking for and you're not going to go and settle for something that you don't believe in, right?
Yes.
I feel like that's also very important. If you pick one way to believe that what love is to you, stick to that and don't go changing it every time you meet a new person
Yeah.
just because that's their idea or
Yeah.
definition of love, right?
Exactly. And I would say that like before or when you ask this question, I want to be straight up. Like this is my advice, and I promise you it'll work. Is that whenever you ask this question and your goal is to seek out true love, you need to be a clean slate. I say for you, I guess you had that fear, right? But if you didn't, there's one thing that you did that that backs up what I'm saying. You gave it a chance.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, when people like they have fine, we're human. We're scared of getting hurt again. It's normal. But to if you're scared and that fear takes a hold of you, because remember this podcast is about like coming out of chaos. So fine, you can be hurt. You got cheated on. You got left behind. Whatever it is, you're hurt. You have all the right to be hurt. But what are you doing about that hurt? So whenever you want to find true love, like you gotta start clean again. You gotta come forward. I had that experience where like just because I was talking to this girl, and she started like she had this baggage in her, and I was like I felt it right, but I tried to give it a chance, and I just felt like I kept getting that block, and she wouldn't let it go. I don't even think she saw it, but I felt it right, where it was like I got hurt. It's not gonna happen to me again. And I'm like, nah, like I'm too old for this. Like I'm not here to babysit anybody. I don't
Mm-hmm.
treat people this way. I don't blame this person for what somebody else did. I'm a mature person, and that's what maturity is. Fine, you got hurt, but like that's leave it behind. That's
You
them.
have to overcome
You
it
know,
for
like
sure.
so overcome that. Like I'm not saying get over it. That's two. I'm talking about two different things. I'm saying fine,
Definitely.
you're hurt, but maybe the other person, since they're a different person, they can help you. But don't be like I got hurt by this person, so that means you're gonna hurt me. Like that's not, that's not gonna work. I don't know what you think.
I'm laughing because it's a thought that goes through your mind when you've had enough. You're like, okay, that's it. I give up. It's like trying to find the perfect pair of shoes, and you're like, okay, that's it. I'm never gonna find this pair of shoes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you block yourself because you're so afraid that you're going to get hurt again. But then again, if you don't take that leap of faith or you don't
Yeah.
take that chance, you're never going to know what's actually out there
Yeah.
that could, at the end of the day, benefit you.
That's why when you were telling your story, I'm like, because I always believe there's one thing, that one choice that changes the course of your life, and that's that you chose to try it out, even if you were scared. Because I'm not trying to bash people that are scared. It sucks. I've heard some crazy stories. Even the girl that I'm telling you, like,
Mm-hmm.
I felt sorry for her. Like, she's an amazing. Like, I'm like, I would tell her, I'm like, you're an amazing person. You didn't deserve to get hurt like that, you know. But like from there to being like, yeah, I know it sucks, and then staying there, then we have a problem.
Yeah.
The point is to overcome it, transcend it out of the chaos, right?
Right.
That's the thing, or else you're gonna get stuck there. So, to go over, I just want to say, like, remember, don't be too picky. Stop looking in the wrong places. Make sure your mentality on love is proper. If you don't have any views on love, try to find some, because then you're gonna have this distorted view. There's no utopia image on love. Love isn't about happiness, and are you doing enough to find it? Which kind of brings us to our second question. Have you asked yourself, am I enough?
That's a
This is deep.
that's a deep question.
Yes.
Especially because, as I was saying, you have different experiences. You go through, I guess, relationships or friendships that are toxic, friendships or relationships that are not good for you. And because they're not good for you, you feel like you're not enough. You feel like it's your fault that these relationships aren't working or that things aren't going the right way. So I've asked myself that. Thankfully, not with my husband, because, like I said, we've known each other. We knew each other's beliefs. We knew each other's values.
Yeah.
We meet in the middle of things. Obviously, we're not. What do you call that? When you agree on everything, like not everything is perfect,
Yeah.
but there's compromise, right?
Of course.
So I feel like in previous relationships, I have asked myself, am I enough? Am I ever going to be enough for this person? But then that's when, after a long, long time with this person, I realized that I wasn't the problem, right? That it was their way of seeing love or their way of seeing relationship and seeking attention and intimacy that didn't work with my beliefs and my values, right? So I think that a lot of people ask themselves that when they're in the wrong relationship, because when you're in the right relationship, I don't think that other person or individual will make you feel or make you ask
Mm.
yourself that. What do you think?
No, I think that I want to say this. I think that people project their insecurities and their hatred or their anger or whatever it is, their bitterness onto you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's my answer because um, this whole it's such a complicated thing because I believe that everything comes from your origin, right? So what got you? Remember, am I enough? I always dive into the question, right? So what does that mean? Enough. What does it mean to be enough, right? So I asked myself, number one, how did I come to that question? What brought me there? So I'll give you an example for me. When I asked myself that, I'm not trying to get all sentimental, whatever, but like it was after a breakup, a couple of years. I saw a picture that I didn't want to see, and it messed me up like bad. And that's when I asked myself that. So obviously I was like depressed, sad, whatever you want to call it, for a couple of months, maybe a year. But then I started asking myself the real question. I'm like, why do I feel this way? And I started saying like, okay, I feel like, why did that picture affect me? Why does this affect me? And I started saying, okay, and I came to the root of the problem, and it was that I felt that back when I was in this relationship, I was like, I don't want to say I was like a low life, but like I wasn't gonna finish high school. I didn't have a job. I had no ambition. I wasn't. I wouldn't consider myself like anything special, right? After like that though, I got my life together. I got a job. I completed all my courses. I got accepted to York, and I wanted to be a teacher. I started pursuing that career, and my life changed, right? So, but I'm like, but there was always this emptiness where I'm like, but I wish I would have shown those symptoms before, whatever. So I asked my question. So when I saw that picture, I'm like, Was I enough? Was I ever enough? And it haunted me for so long until one day I got a call from this person randomly, and that call kind of answered the question, because someone who calls someone after I'm talking about years, not like a year or two, years later, a low life that I consider myself to be when I was younger, meant that I was something, you know? And maybe not everybody's gonna get that, but for me, that was kind of my closure, right? But then the funny thing is that when I got that call, everything came together. Like, all those years of doubts came together, and I realized that it's what you said when you're like, I look back on my question, it was so dumb, because number one, I didn't have to be enough. Like, I didn't have to prove to be enough to this person. And number two, I actually was always enough, because yeah, maybe I didn't have a job yet. I was still kind of young. Maybe I didn't have ambition. Like, it wasn't that I was dumb. I just didn't like have. Nobody told me like, oh, Oscar, like you should do this with your life, or Oscar, you should do that. I just didn't have anybody to guide me. Right? It wasn't that I was dumb. So later, when I was guided, I became these things that I wanted to be, and I realized that I was always that guy inside. I was always respectful to my parents. I never did like drugs. I never wanted to drink. I was a church boy. Like, I genuinely wasn't like a dirtbag as I thought. But it took me years to see that, and I felt like I wasted so much time on that. But yeah, it's my little depressing story.
It's all
All right,
good.
so like after my little sob story, I just what the point of that was that the reason why I felt that I wasn't enough is because the problems that I I had, thinking that was that they were deeper rooted problems. It wasn't just like that relationship. It was more like when I was a kid, I didn't have many friends. I was always a very shy kid, which meant like I didn't associate myself with other people, and so that kind of grew up like a loner. And then that, like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's a
Yeah.
resolve to something. So this is why I'm not trying to be like deep on purpose. Like, this is why I like asking myself questions, because it's like, am I enough? But like, what does this question mean? Where did it come from? Why do I feel this way? Yes, because of this breakup, or because of this relationship, or because of this problem. But why is that so? Like, why does that affect me so much? Because maybe it should affect me, but why so much, and why for so long, right? And it's when I did these things, this research, that I came to understand that there were just things in me. Like, I never was confident. And that relationship was my first relationship. I always thought I wasn't like good looking. I always felt that I was not like handsome enough or smart enough. Like, I always felt that way. So it wasn't new, you know? This was even before. And those are the things I worked on, right? I don't know if you want to say anything.
Yeah, no, for sure. When you ask yourself that, I just feel like you said, it's rooted deeply
Yeah.
because of something else, right? Um, Whether it's, I don't know, something you've experienced before that was really rough, and that's why that brings up that uncertainty where you kind of doubt yourself, like, what do I have to do to be enough for this person, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's definitely like a big part of it, where you've experienced such I guess you can say disappointment or such betrayal or such hurt, that it's something that you always go back to
Yeah.
in different experiences. And that lack of confidence is definitely something that I can relate to as well, where you've never felt good enough for somebody else. And it could be rooted to your family. So for me, I think that being in a Latin American family, you're expected to always be pushing forward, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes if I wasn't good enough for my family, maybe that could be rooted the same way as I thought that I wasn't good enough for my partner
Oh,
in
okay.
that time, right? So that's all correlated, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree, but that's my take on it.
Oh, 100%. Especially like, I guess it depends, right? Like, on for me, I would say the culture too. The thing about that, like for me personally, is that my parents, like, they kind of got. Well, my mom's from Guatemala, my dad's from El Salvador, so I can't really say it's like I kind of got the mixture plus the Canadian. So, and my parents were very cool growing up. They were very supportive. They're not really pushy. They didn't demand to meet anybody. They didn't demand, so like
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm the most like qualified person to talk about at least that, because the thing for me has always been myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been an inner problem, right? And like to touch on that point, it's like um I do believe that like narcissists do have this, what I said before, they project their self-hate. So the reason why you ask yourself that question, and I don't mean to call everybody's parents or friends narcissists, but maybe it may be like they are, and like maybe because I know people that like their parents, it's almost like they're jealous of them. It's so weird. You would think that your parents would want the best for you, right? But it's like that their parents almost like don't want you to be as happy as maybe they weren't or something. It's weird. But whoever it is, whether your parents, your friends, your brother, your sister, whoever, narcissists are gonna project their self hate.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody listening, like if their ex partner had ever made them feel inferior, instead of hating them, forgive them and understand them. Not like in a sympathetic way where like you're gonna go talk to them, but in a way that like you understand that like poor them because they hate themselves so much that they made you feel like crap, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's ironic because they're the people that are crap, you
Right.
know, and you are gonna transcend that, and you're gonna be better than those people.
Of
That's the
course.
goal, right? Don't be like them, because then they win, right?
Yeah.
Um, but this kind of brings us to our last question, which is another unsettling, pun intended one, which is, am I settling? You know, that's a really, 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 really deep question, and I'm gonna leave it to you because I know you have some stuff to say on that.
For sure. So, because I'm talking about this one past experience that I went through, I was young. I was dating this person for a long time. And this is the same person where I unfortunately thought that I wasn't good enough for them
Mm.
due to my own personal issues, due to my own way of being. I didn't know what to blame it on within myself. I always thought it was me, but I learned throughout the years, we dated for a very long time, that it wasn't me to the fullest. Like, yes, I wasn't perfect. I'm still not perfect, but definitely there was something there in his part. And it's kind of like what you said about narcissists. They never really see them as the bad person, but it's their hatred or their insecurities that are what did you say, projected onto you.
Yeah, their self hate
Onto
is projected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big thing there. And so in this relationship, because we dated for such a long time, I felt like I was stuck here, right? And not just because that's just the way I felt, but I think that because in Latin American culture, I don't know if it's still the same way, but in my family beliefs is that first of all, you're not even supposed to be dating a lot, right?
Mm.
You're not supposed to be bouncing around from person to person.
Yeah.
So this is my longest relationship, and I can say real relationship in quotes because it was actually a really long relationship. So I felt that I did ask myself that because I thought this was it. I thought the person that had me asking and asking myself, am I good enough, was the person for me. So I thought, okay, cool. Well, this is it. Um, After asking myself so long, for such a long time, am I ever going to find the one? This is the one,
Yeah.
right? But then, like I said, I learned from it. And I don't know, when I learned and when I realized that, oh my gosh, what am I doing with this person? I felt like it was too late to back out because I people had this idea in their heads that um, this is it. Like, oh, you guys been dating for so long and it's no longer you by yourself. You lost
Yeah.
your identity. It's you and this person or this person and you. So I felt like I was settling at a point because I felt pressure from my family or from, I guess you can say, cultural beliefs where they wanted me to just stick to the one person. And this one person, his parents were friends with my parents or
Yeah.
my mom. So I felt a deep pressure there from family to stick it out. Like, oh, work it out. Like, literally, we would have fights and I would have family come and tell me, what's wrong with you? Like, go fix
Oh
it.
my.
And I
Yeah.
think you know this because I used to talk to you about this during our study breaks, that it was hard. It was definitely hard. So, did I question myself in the way of, am I settling with this person? Right? And is this all that I can get? So, upon asking myself that and, you know the story and my husband knows the story, and then you kind of like when you talk it out with people, they make you realize that there's better out there,
Yeah.
right? So I have asked myself this, due to either family pressure or cultural beliefs or just not wanting to let people down,
Yeah.
right? Because unfortunately I was very, I don't know what you would say, you would call that, but I was all about my family. So if my family said jump, I would jump. If my
Yeah.
family said down, I would sit down. So that was a big, big, big part of why we stuck it out for so long,
Mm.
because we were known to be together. We were known that it was him and I. And you don't quit, right? That's just who you are. I don't know if you experience that within your
That's
family.
so.
You
Oh
don't
man.
quit. You don't quit. Yeah.
I.
So that plays over and over again, and you end up thinking, okay, this is it. This is the person I'm going to marry. And thankfully, things, they broke down and it didn't work out.
And I don't even like. I don't blame them. Like, maybe I'm being biased because they're our parents. But like, I don't blame. I know they mean well. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's not that they mean ill will, right? The problem is just like how do I say this? It's just you know what it is. Sometimes that our ancestors, our grandparents, or our parents back in the day, they might have kind of settled with certain things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I let's say like my story, like I'm not gonna tell it like my grandparents, right? But like what I know of them, they settled, right? Like maybe a lot of my aunts settled. I don't know, right? Like if I look hard enough, maybe I'll find they did. What I understand is that remember everything is a deep rooted problem. So this settling, where does it come from, right? I heard somebody say like tell their kid like, hey, you're gonna learn to love this person one day. Like if you love your kid, why would you say that to them? That doesn't make any sense. And there's no way you can convince me that's a smart thing. It's not at all. You know, you can't love anybody. You know, it really angers me because it's something that like people they follow that advice and then they're gonna go crash against the wall. But
Mm-hmm.
it's what I'm saying. Like, so am I settling? Again, the question is, what does settling mean, right? And the thing is, one I've spoken with many people that have settled, and the one common thing that I find is that it relates to the am I enough problem, right? So when you feel small, you're gonna kind of want small. And I say this carefully because there's two extremes. There's people who I don't want to like diss them, but like there's people who kind of should be a little ashamed of what they do, and they see themselves as like the most compatible, most the eye-catching thing on earth. And then there's people who are actually worth so much, and they see themselves as nothing. It's such an ironic thing, right? So remember, again, this podcast is about balance, right? So it's like one thing I want to tell people is right now is that you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Okay, like you don't have to do anything, nothing. Like think about it, nothing, right? Realistically. So if you don't want something, just follow that rule. If you don't want to do this, then just don't do it.
I think that
You know?
ties also with your find your definition of love, find your definition of what love means to you and what you want to believe in, right? And stick to it. That way you can carry it out, right? I
Exactly.
feel like that has a major thing to do with this conversation, is that once you have your idea of what true love is, you would know personally what you deserve, what you should feel in
Exactly.
this relationship. That way, at the end of the day, you're not just being with someone just to satisfy them or to satisfy others because you feel pressured, but instead because you're with them because you want to, because you feel that mutual respect, because you feel that connection, because you feel that love,
Yeah.
right? So I feel like that all ties together in the part that you have to find what you believe in and stick with it and stand up for your beliefs,
And
right?
and it's kind of like what I mentioned last episode and a couple episodes ago. Like, I'm not here telling people like don't listen to your parents. It's just I've seen so many bad examples. Again, I'm not here trying to like blast people. It's just like I've learned from my life. The reason why my life is not a disaster is because I don't do what people do. So right now, like you're sitting in front of me, and I'm not gonna say like I'm massively happy. I'm genuinely happy. I'm at peace. I don't have any like kids laying around. I'm at peace, And the reason why my life is at peace is because I follow these steps.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the reason why my life is not chaotic, I don't have baggage, I don't have things like holding me down, pain and whatever, is because I have followed these rules, right? And I've never, anybody who knows me knows that I don't do anything I don't want to do. And I don't mean like in a rebellious way. I mean
Mm-hmm.
like if I say, um, like, okay, this person's really sweet, whatever. Actually, I'll give that example. So there was this girl that I was talking to, and everybody told me to talk to her. Everybody and their moms. I'm not even joking. But there's something inside of me, like I don't know what it was. There's just something, and I didn't feel right. And but you know what? I was like, I'm just gonna listen to them. Not again, maybe this is not settling. This is just like trying to get to know this person, right? So I try to get to know this person, and boom, like it's exactly what I thought. There's a lot of baggage. There's a lot of things that weren't gonna work out. I knew I wasn't gonna be I wasn't gonna be happy, or at peace. And I remember my mom was one of those people where she was kind of like telling me, and I came home sad one day, and she hugged me, started crying. She's like, Mijo, like, I'm so sorry. She's like, it's my fault. Like, because I was sad. I was genuinely sad. And she's like, it's my fault that you're sad. Like, she started bawling on my arms. And I'm like, Mom, like, it's okay. Like, you're right. You know, like, because the thing, there's a balance. I didn't take my mom's advice and saying, marry the chick, you know? I took her advice saying, like, go out with her, you know? But so she took it so hard on herself. Like I hugged her. I'm like, no, mom, like it's okay. You're right. Like cause I didn't want to like. She told me, go see what's there. If you don't like it, then leave. Right? Pretty simple. So I'm like, no, mom. Like I don't want to see what's there because I kind of don't. It doesn't feel right. She's like, go, go. Right? Everybody kept telling me to go. So I'm like, fine. I went. Didn't like it. I actually got hurt because I started to feel a connection, and then so that's why I was sad. And then my mom started like taking it upon herself. But then I hugged her and I'm like, you know what? Maybe this little like sadness that I feel was worth to go check it out. Versus like, what if I didn't check it out and she was actually like a match, or what if I like ignored everybody and just like dove in and then she was gonna like leave me like hanging high and dry a couple years. So what I'm trying to say is love your parents. I like love your siblings, your friends, but at the end of the day, if you don't want to do something, just don't do it. Just follow your
Mm-hmm.
gut. Because then the worst case scenario, if your life goes to crap, you're just gonna have to blame yourself. You don't have to blame anybody else. You know, I don't know
Yeah.
what you think about that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because at the end of the day, like you said, you're the one that's going to be left over picking up the broken pieces, right?
Exactly.
So, yes, I was in a relationship for a long time. Yes, my family or the point of views from everybody else outside of the relationship was like, oh, you guys made such a wonderful couple. They're perfect. What do you mean you're breaking up? Go fix it. They don't know what's really happening, right? Only
Yeah.
you know what's happening. And sometimes you get so caught up in this whole, is this the true love? Going back to the first
Yeah.
point, that you end up with the wrong people, right? And I mean, it is what it is. Lessons are learned for sure. But as long as you make that decision to continue, or you make that decision to not go look for it or take that leap of faith,
Yeah.
it's all on you at the end of the day, right? I mean, people could advise you, like you said, but ultimately you have the decision,
Yeah.
and you have the right to make your own decision to figure out if that's what you want to go.
Yeah.
Or
So
if you don't.
what would you recommend people to like how to help out? Like let's say your family members that like they're or whoever you're saying that like said, "Oh, why'd you guys break up?" What like if you could tell them something, like what would you tell them? I'll give you an example. For me, I'd be like instead of assuming, yeah, again, I'm not trying to praise my parents. It's just genuinely they did help me with this, right? I'm very fortunate in this angle, which my parents. They one thing my dad told me growing up, he goes like whatever decision you make, we'll back you up. He's like because I know you're a smart enough kid, and that gave me so much confidence, right? And but this is the thing: when I did make bad decisions, they didn't force me, but they'd be like, Oscar, like you're going down the wrong path. But then that's it. You know, they
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be bashing me every day, but they would kind of give me a warning. So and then when I hit my face against the wall, I didn't have nobody to blame but
But
myself,
yourself.
right? And my parents they didn't. I can't be like, no, but parents like you held me back. You told me, right? So at the end of the day, I have that amazing example in my life, right? So what would you advise people like to advise other people?
I would advise
Stop being
to How
I was
would
gonna
you
say
even that word in Spanish?
metidos,
Yep,
right?
you
Yeah.
got it. That's it.
Metidos, it means like nosy.
Nosy,
Yeah, yeah,
nosy,
yeah.
like yes, okay, you see all the perfect things. Even today in social media, you see these wonderful pictures of couples. Oh, hashtag goals, hashtag relationship
Hashtag blessed.
goals, hashtag blessed, right? Hashtag true love, like, but that's what we see as the
Yeah,
filter, right? Only the people in the relationship see the truth and what's actually happening. So if I had more guts, I would have told these people to just let me figure it out on my own. I know what I'm doing and just trust the process, right?
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, I'm the one that, like, yes, your parents, once they see you suffering, they obviously feel it too
yeah,
because it's that deep connection you have with them. But at least if I get hurt, I want to be the decider on why I get hurt or who I get hurt with, right?
yeah,
I don't want to have your influence, right? Because parents always want to do the right thing and they always do it with the right intent.
yeah, yeah,
But sometimes in this case, it's not the right intent, right? Like if I want to break up with someone, let me break up with someone. Like yes, you probably think this person's perfect because they share a culture with us, because nothing is different, because blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, if I want to get out, it's because I have my reasons, right?
yeah,
And respect my reasons. Like you said, like be supportive and let me do what I got to do and just be there for me when I fall to help me pick up, like to
yeah.
help me pick me up, right? But yeah, that's my biggest thing. Like, just let people take their decisions.
Like nobody does anything for like nobody does anything properly when it's forced.
Right.
So if they want to break up, like you can try to stop it as much as possible, like or convince it. Like, what does that matter? Like in their hearts,
Yeah.
the intention is always gonna be to not do it. It's so sad, but it's like what you said. It comes from a good place. It's just about telling them. I said it last episode when I was talking about my mom. I don't know if you heard where she would just yell at me, and I'm like, Mom, like you know it's not gonna
That's
work.
not working.
Like if you yell at me 10 out of 10 times, I'm not gonna listen. You know, it's not because I don't want, just my body. Like it doesn't react to that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you talk to me, and then she did it, right? So same thing. Be like, when I'm in a relationship, like please, like just this. You can demand things of your life. Why not? Why can't you, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's so important. Like so to end, I want to leave like maybe you could leave a thought, but for me, I want to say that I always live by that saying. Like you don't have to do anything you don't want to do.
For sure.
It's just that simple. People always rip on me. They're like, Oscar, you oversimplify everything. But the thing is, life is simple. We just complicate it.
For sure.
You know, like so that's I live my life like that. Like I'm not talking about like any smarty pants out there. I'm not talking about like don't go to work or something. I'm saying like there's things that you don't have to do. You know, like if you don't feel like you're not ready to get married, then wait another year. You know, if you don't like want to celebrate your birthday like on your day and just celebrate the next day because you're lazy, then didn't celebrate it tomorrow. Just do it. Like it's okay. It's okay. Like because one mistake, especially when it comes to romantic relationships, it can cost you your life, and sometimes your physical life. But I'm talking about mostly like a mistake, right? That's gonna bug you for a long time. So I don't know how you want to end it.
Yes, for sure, I would say live your life. Obviously, be safe. Like take people's advice, but don't
Yeah,
take it as demands. Right?
exactly.
Don't make like if you say something to me as an advice, I would take it as an advice, not as something that I have to or must
Yeah,
do. And I mean, for people who are out there in their dating times right now or their committing stages in a relationship, like really think about what you want, your beliefs, your values, right? Yes, you can take input from somebody else, but at the end of the day, it's your life, it's your romantic experience, it's your journey.
yeah,
You decide what you want to get into and what you don't. Obviously, take the audience's advice, but just take it with your own not professional judgment, but with your own um, judgment for sure.
yeah. 100%. I agree, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you
I
for having
think
me.
yeah, I was very happy to invite you, especially hearing your story and knowing that you got married to your husband, which I've known for so long as well. It's such a crazy story, and thank you for sharing it. Thank you for your time, and so that's a wrap for today's episode. We're going to be touching a little bit more upon this subject in later episodes, but I want to thank Milan for joining me. Remember that If you have any comments, any ideas, any feedback that you guys want to leave, just leave it in the comment section. Leave it in the or send us an email. And remember that we live in this chaotic world, but we're gonna try to make sense out of it. It's all about balancing life and transcending chaos. So see you guys on the next one, and thank you for listening.